BlacKkKlansman, the story of Ron Stallworth, an African-American police officer from Colorado who successfully managed to infiltrate the local Ku Klux Klan and became the head of the local chapter, hits theaters August 10th. It is directed by legendary director Spike Lee, but he is not the only genius behind this film. The genius also comes in the form of the writers, which I have had the pleasure of working with one before in Chirac, and I have the pleasure of talking with him right now, Mr. Kevin Wilmott. Kevin, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Jay, how you doing, baby?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm happy to talk to you, man, especially under something that's amazing about to happen with BlacKkKlansman.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time, and I think people are going to really enjoy the film.
The response that you guys got from Cannes was surreal. How did that feel?
Oh man, I tell you, Jay, you're a stand-up and an actor and everything, so you know what it's like to kind of have a moment, man, where they're right with you, man.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was, man. They were right with us, and it was just overwhelming, man. About a 10-minute standing ovation, and it was my first time. I'm a Kansas country boy, man. It's my first time in France. and it was a wing dang doodle, man. It was quite the moment, man. But it was a beautiful experience, man.
Now, like I said before, this is not the first time you worked with Spike Lee, of course, back on Chirac. How did the team up initially come to be with you two working together?
Well, I made a film called CSA, Confederate States of America, which is about what happens when the South wins the Civil War. Mm-hmm. And Spike saw that film years ago and really liked it. And that's when I had, Chirac was originally called Gotta Give It Up. And he read that script, years ago and really loved it. And then, we tried to get it made then, and it didn't quite happen. And so he came back to me years later, and that script turned into Chirac. And we've kind of been working together ever since.
Man, the dynamic between you two is amazing. With BlacKkKlansman, having worked with you guys personally on Chirac, I remember the first day we were in the table read, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, this is surreal. And to watch, that brings me to that question of watching words that you've put together in a screenplay. I know you've done it with extra writers in BlacKkKlansman, but watching words you put together in a screenplay being brought to life by actors and legendary director Spike Lee. How does that feel?
Oh man, I tell you, Jay, it's always great, man. It was beautiful with Chirac, and that was a unique experience because, that movie's, a lot of it is written in verse, and it's a really kind of about the word. And when you guys really, made it real, it was especially, something I've written like years ago, even, it just was really extra special. But with this, man, we've got some great actors in the film, but there's one actor in particular that I have to tell you, man, that is kind of a dream come true for me, man. There's Harry Belafonte is in the film.
Are you serious?
Yes, and he has this great moment in the film. I don't want to give anything away, but he has a great moment in the film, and was really kind of a thing that Spike and I kind of specifically wrote, and it just that was like a dream come true. I mean, for me as a kid growing up, watching those movies he made in the 60s, and it's just, a real hero of mine. And so it was really a real honor to have him reading your lines.
Wow. Speaking of reading lines and the story of BlacKkKlansman, why this particular story? I know that you touch on a lot of issues with different projects you've worked on, as does Spike. Why this one in particular?
Well, Jordan Peele reached out to Spike, and they had bought the book, and had a couple writers had originally kind of wrote the script. They weren't satisfied with it, and so they approached Spike to direct the film, and they wanted to rewrite it. And so Spike and I kind of looked at it and kind of gave them our take on it, and they really liked it. And it's just one of those stories, man. Ron Stallworth, the real policeman. I mean, it's just stranger than fiction. I mean, it's just, you can't make this kind of stuff up. and it provided, I think anytime a great story is one that kind of provides avenues into a lot of other things. And so, we get to deal with a lot of different aspects of the world in this film. And that's where a lot of the, I think, richness and hopefully entertainment really comes from. And on top of that, it really kind of connects to what's happening today in a lot of interesting kind of political and social ways.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've heard Spike be very vocal about it. I know how vocal you are as well. Which brings me to my next question. What were some of the challenges that you guys had in taking this true tale, turning it into a movie with the current climate that's going on?
Well, I tell you, man, from the very beginning, Spike said, he didn't want it to be a period piece. And I know that sounds funny because, you see the trailer and the poster, and it's very much a 70s thing.
Right.
But what he meant by that, though, is that even though we have a lot of fun with the 70s in the movie, and, the 70s is just a great period, the look and style and slang and the music, everything. But he didn't want people to really kind of say that's how it was in the olden days, and it's like has pretty strong feelings about how sometimes period films can kind of give people an out, and I can see what he means by that. And so we worked really hard in trying to find connections to today. So even though the film is very much a 70s kind of movie, the cake, the guts of the movie there, not just the icing. The icing is really the period stuff, but the cake itself is very much what's going on today. And so we're always trying to link it back to today, and unfortunately there's a lot of links to today, so that wasn't real hard to do in some ways.
Yeah, I mean it's not that difficult when you're talking about something like that. Was there any direct input from Mr. Ron Stallworth with this?
Oh yeah, well the great thing about the true story is that there's 4 or 5 moments in the movie that are just unbelievable. And those are all true. Whoa. And that's so that was the, you have to connect a lot of stuff. You have to kind of connect a lot of tissue together that isn't always based in reality. But those big moments in the movie are all true. And that's the thing that Ron is just a hero. I mean, he was just a guy. He was a young guy. He didn't quite know what he was doing in the beginning. But then he really kind of finds his way and becomes this, a really great hero. And that's the stuff of good movies.
Of course it is. With good movies, you also have, again, the emotional aspect, especially when it comes to the creating the movie, not just watching it. So knowing what you just said about how some of the scenes that are too real to be true but are real, were there any times you guys got emotionally almost overwhelmed during filming?
Well, I think, man, that the fact that you're dealing with the Klan, and you've got guys in these in these outfits, these Klan outfits, and then especially like the Harold Belafonte scene, where you're dealing with, not to give too much away, but you're dealing with a real incident that happened. And I mean, I think that, in the world that's going on right now, I mean, you kind of really understood that this isn't make believe, and this isn't theater, and this isn't just movies. This is real life, and I think, everyone, especially like, Topher Grace, who had to play David Duke. And you hear the language that the Klan uses on a regular basis, and we have fun with that, but at the same time, it's pretty messed up, and I think it just kind of makes everyone have to kind of, it was a challenge to everyone to have to hear that stuff on a regular basis, and you think about somebody like Ron, who is having to have these conversations with these haters,
Right.
And they're saying the worst stuff in the world to him every day. And just let that sink in for a moment.
Yeah, I'm getting, you get that enragement and that hurt and anger at the same time, just hearing it.
Oh yeah, man, you just want to come. I'm sure he wanted to come through the phone any number of times, and we have Adam Driver in the film plays, the policeman, his partner, that the white Ron Stallworth that goes
Right.
into the Klan and goes and actually infiltrates it, and he's Jewish, and so they hate Jews as much as they hate black folks. And so he's happy to hear all this anti-Semitic stuff, every second. And, so it's a great kind of vehicle to kind of examine, how we deal with race and anti-Semitism. And, and that stuff is alive and well right now. And it probably will always be a factor in American life. And so, but the film does a good job of kind of showing us you have to be willing to stand up against that stuff. And it's because it's never probably going to go away.
And that's what I wanted to close on, to ask you, what do you want people to take away from this film when they go experience BlacKkKlansman?
Well, I think, man, that it's, Jay, it's a movie, man, that is very entertaining. I mean, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry a little bit, it's got a real punch at the end. But I think more than anything, man, I think it really kind of is a reminder to all of us that there's a lot of unfinished business in this country. And we've got to decide how we want to live as Americans. And the film kind of reminds us of that.
We definitely need that in this day and age. Kevin Wilmott, I want to thank you so much for taking time out to speak with me. My best regards, well wishes, and hopefully a lot of extra success with BlacKkKlansman. It drops on August 10th. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, Kevin.
Thank you, brother, man.
I appreciate it.
Always great to rap with you, brother. Take care, baby.
Take care.